Welcome to A Poor Millionaire. My name is Curtis, and this is part 2 of the two-parter, my story. It's so long, and there's so many stories, there's so many things I could put in here, but I'm just trying to put in the information that gets you a basic overview of how I started. I'm going to do a little review here for people who might not have seen part 1. Started off in life with moving out at 17 years old, being basically homeless. Starting off working in the mall, moving to ATC, which is an American Express company, working in a call center. From that, I moved to working at a computer shop. This is the point we're at right now. We're at the computer, not a computer shop, but a computer wholesale. They were selling CPUs, memory, and hard drives eventually. We were selling this over the phone. This is my first phone sales job. This became my career. Basically, we're starting at the career. This is my high-paying, high-skilled career. Now, still, if I had picked another career, I probably could have made more money. And this is what I always tell. I've had people ask me, what kind of career should I choose to make money? And I always say, go be in sales and roofing. Now, obviously, being in sales and roofing, that's a job where you're going to starve for a couple months, and then a hailstorm's going to come through, or tornado, and then you're gonna have to move to the area or drive to the area that has the storm, work the storm, and close those roofs and make the sales. But there are other sales jobs you can get, other opportunities. So customer service, sales, or if you can't, open a business. You can start a business for very little money, and you can make it into a nice business making money. So there's millions of ways that you can make money. You've got to find an area that's interesting to you. That's what I found when I did the computer sales. This was the start of my career. I'd already done sales in the mall. I'd already done face-to-face sales. Now I did phone sales. I did phone customer service at ATC working for American Express. Then I moved into phone sales wholesale. This became my career as a salesperson. I can always fall back upon this. Whenever you're a great salesperson, you can be a great sales manager. This moves me into my first company that I own. This is the first business I started by myself. I went and got my certificate to start my own business. Went to the state, got signed up, got the name of the business registered. I started by myself. I'm in my apartment, all by myself, selling, making money, selling computers, and this is a business. Now, I'm sitting in my apartment and I'm starting this business. I'm starting to make money. Everything's going great. My buddy, who is also my roommate, calls me up and he's like, hey, Curtis, he's like, I'm quitting too. And I'm like, no, don't do that. And he's like, and I'm also bringing another employee. And I was like, no, don't do that, right? There's no way we're going to make this work. And he's like, we're doing it. I don't care. We're going to make it happen. I was like, no. And he shows up and he brought a guy with him. I was like, basically, we got an employee for free. I didn't want him. I didn't ask for him. I told him not to bring him. He brought him anyway. Now we're 3 people we've got to make money for. So now we've got a big problem. We have three salespeople or 3 guys who've got to make a living in this new freshly business. And I went to the new guy and I said, look, new guy, it's like, this company's going to be me and John's. We're going to share it. You're just an employee. Are you sure you want to do this? And he's like, yes. And I was like, why would anybody want to come work in somebody's apartment for 2 guys just starting out? I have no idea, but he decided to do it. Bless his heart, and we went forward with it. My grandmother used to say, "Bless your heart." Anyway, we went through this. We started the business, and what's crazy was we started making money. But then we needed to go pick up parts every day, so I had to go drive and pick up parts, and I didn't want to do this. So then I got a phone call from my brother. My brother said, hey, I'm basically homeless. I need a place to live. And I said, well, you come live with me, sleep on my couch, and I've got a job for you. So now we have 3 people living in the apartment, 4 people working for us, and we have a little small company. And I sent my brother to go pick up the parts in a van. He'd pick up the parts, we'd build the computers, sell the parts, and our little company started. Boom, we have a little company of 4 people, and we were successful. And basically, we took our money and we just kept on reinvesting it in the business. We never went out and bought a shiny car. We never went out and bought a nicer apartment. We didn't buy anything except for stuff for the business. And we flipped our money over and over and over, and the company grew. And the company grew. It was my first business ever, and I put everything into this, guys. I worked nonstop. I had no social. Not no social life. I did go out a few times, but very, very little, guys. Very, very little. Actually, I stopped going out. Once that business started, I basically stopped going out. I was too busy working the business. I just couldn't go out. When I was working at, I'm going to call it the old company, old computer wholesale company. His name was Global. When I worked at Global, I went out, had fun, partied, had a social life, had all the good stuff, had a girlfriend, all the good stuff. When I started my own company, nothing. Guys, that's all I did was work. And I poured my heart into it. Now, our company got so big that little bitty apartment couldn't handle it. So what did we do? We rented a house, a large house, and basically that entire house. One floor was one area, the giant living room was the sales room. The other it had 2 living rooms. The other living room, which was like a den, that was our build floor. And we hired people to build computers. We hired more sales reps. So now we had 2 or 3 sales reps working for us. We had 1 or 2 builders working for us, and we had my brother going and picking up the parts. And then that company grew and grew and grew, and eventually we moved into a building. Right now we've got 6 or 7 salespeople. We had 4 or 5 operations people, and I'm doing the purchasing. My partner John's doing the sales, and we're doing decent. We're surviving, guys. We're not making a lot of money though. We're just surviving. We still haven't bought nice fancy cars. We're not we don't have a mortgage. We don't have savings. It's basically just flipping our money and surviving. And we're growing to grow, guys. We're growing to grow. There's not a lot of profit in the business we're doing. So we get up to a certain point, and then we get sued, right? And I was like, the first time I got the lawsuits, if you've never been sued before, you don't understand. You get sued one time, and it's just a complete shock. You don't know what to do. You don't know how to handle it. You're like, oh my God, how could I get sued? I didn't do anything wrong. I had one guy sue me, and he owed me money. Explain that to me. I delivered him about $20,000 worth of computers. He paid about $10,000. He owed another $10,000, and then he sued me. He had my computers. He owed me $10,000, and he sued me. And basically what he was doing was he was trying to get out of the money that he owed me, and he knew that I was going to sue him, and that's what he did. He preemptively sued me, so he looked like he was the good guy. And I had lawsuit after lawsuit, and I was like, why am I getting sued so much, right? And all these lawsuits, most of them, guys, were nothing to do with me, not my fault. But then we did have a massive lawsuit. This is old news. It's a long time ago, so I'm going to go ahead and say it out loud. Microsoft sued my old company. Now, whether we're doing something wrong or weren't doing something wrong, that's here and there. A lot of companies were doing the exact same thing, and a lot of companies got sued. And basically, we were wholesaling computers. So we would prep them for the reseller, right, by loading the software on there. Now, Microsoft said you can't load the software on there because the reseller is supposed to sell it. He's supposed to buy a copy of it, and we'd sell a copy of it, but we'd prep it for him, right? And Microsoft said you can't prep the computers. So basically, we're selling computers that had software on it, ready to go, without the code in there, but ready to go, preloaded. Microsoft said that was wrong. They sued us for $1 million and destroyed my business. The entire business fell apart. This is one of those low parts in your life when everything you've worked for, and you thought, I kept thinking when I was working 80 hours a week and just killing myself, and that's all I did. No social life, no friends. All my friends were at my company. All my friends worked for me. My best friend worked for me. He's my partner. My girlfriend worked there, and she really wasn't my girlfriend. She was just some girl I was seeing, so even worse, right? So everything was wrapped up into that company. My entire existence, my being, and then I lost it all. And I had to declare bankruptcy. So I had to declare bankruptcy on the whole thing and lost everything I owned. Well, all my employees came to me and they said, hey, it's like, we can make this work. We need this job. We need this company. We like working for you. We want to make this work. We want to start another company. And the first guy said it. I was like, no, I don't want to do this. Next guy said it. I was like, really? And then my business partner, he came to me. He said, hey, I've got some big orders. They're just waiting on us. All we got to do is start a new company and start this ball all over again. And I was like, all right, let's try it again. We've learned our lesson. We've learned from our mistake. All the mistakes we made, we learned our lessons. All the things we'd done wrong, all the mistakes, Everything it compounded. We started fresh. And this next time, we learned our lesson on not putting a company in your own name. You should put it into a corporation. So now, if you start a company, guys, one of the words of wisdoms is to incorporate. Guys, if you incorporate and you're making money, you can take that money, you pay yourself, and you've got assets, and you incorporate, and then suddenly somebody comes along and sues you for something that's, guys, being sued doesn't mean you did anything wrong. All right, it doesn't. It just means that somebody thinks that you owe them money. All right, and it could be they slip and fell. Right? Did you push them down when they slip and fell? No, you didn't. Did you pay someone to clean that floor, and then that person that you paid money to clean that floor left the water on the floor, and then they slip and fell? See, that's a classic example of you didn't do anything wrong, but you got sued, right? And you can get your entire company destroyed because of random acts of other people that you're responsible for, but you didn't do it, right? So, and that's a hard thing for a lot of people to understand. A lot of people assume that if you've been arrested, you're guilty. If you've been sued, you're guilty. You know what I mean? That's always their immediate response. They always assume that if you've been sued, you did something wrong. That's not always true. All right. Now, I've done things that I've gotten sued over that I did do wrong. All right. I'm not perfect. Nobody's perfect. Everybody's made mistakes. But at the same time, though, it's like I have paid off most everybody that owed money to that was a mistake, right? Long stories, but I can't get into those. But basically, everybody got their money that was owed their money. I didn't go and take some guy's money who gave me $20,000 worth of computers and then turn around and sued him. I never did that, and I've never actually sued anyone. I think lawsuits are a waste of time and a waste of my time and a waste of my money and a waste of my effort. I highly recommend that you don't sue people unless absolutely necessary. And obviously, if you start a business, expect that you will get sued. All right. I know this is a hard thing to hear because you're like, well, I'll never get sued. Everything will go perfect. It's just not the way world works, guys. Once you start making money, they start seeing that money, somebody's going to sue you. Could be an employee, could be a customer, could be a guy walking down the street. So, I lost my first company. The name of that company was Trek Technologies, like Star Trek. I love that company. I put a lot into it, and it was the first time I declared bankruptcy. It's the first time I lost everything, and everything fell apart. And that was one of the lowest times the second lowest time in my entire life, or third. And I was suicidal, guys. I was just sitting there, looking off into space. But my employees brought me back from the brink. That was the best weight loss diet ever. I lost 20 pounds instantly, guys. It just melted off. I became a frail, just instantly lost weight. I don't know how it happened, but I woke up one day and I was 20 pounds lighter. We started the new business. The new business, we started in a retail shop on a smaller location, and we got our big orders in, and what we're going to do is we're going to sell computers retail and wholesale, and we're going to make it work. And that business was called Allied, and that was actually the beginning of one of the best businesses I've ever owned, and the best business I ever built was Allied Semiconductor Corporation. It's a fancy name for a company, but my business partner always came up with the names. He came up with the name Trek Technologies. He came up with the Allied Semiconductor Corporation. A lot of my sales reps used to like to call it I-Lied, like I lied. They thought it was a joke. Now, obviously, guys, we took care of all of our customers, but still, though, it's a funny joke. Or you'd say, do we cheat them and how? All the funny little jokes salespeople tell. But basically, we took that company and we moved from that little tiny retail shop where we made that work. We moved into another building. We had 2 locations for a while where we're still selling out of that shop. Then eventually we decided we shut down that shop when the lease ran out. And then we had the larger location, which is basically about 3 shops. And then from that location, we actually moved into a giant warehouse. And at that time, I had about 12 sales reps. I had just a gob of employees. I had like 5 or 6 operations people. I had 2 RMA people. I had assistant purchasers. I had shipping department. I had entire build floor of people building computers. That was a massive company. We probably got up to about 40 to 50 employees. I can't remember the exact amount. We were really pushing it. And we made money at that place. We started making money. This is when I finally reached that 100K a year, guys. I finally reached that max where I was making real money. But I only made it for a short period of time. And then I became a millionaire because that company was worth probably about $2 million. That's the first time I became a millionaire, is when that company, in that warehouse, we had all those sales reps, we're making all this money, and then I started making money. Then making money became a little bit easier. Not as easy as it should have been, but still a little bit easier. And this is when I started making real money. And I would get my money and I would save it. I was single, and I did everything to make every time I got money, I'd buy my car outright. I'd buy another car and lease it to the company. I'd get my money and then I'd invest it in the stock market. I did day trading. One time on my birthday, I woke up day trading and my account was up for $4,000. So the universe just gave me a magic $4,000 on my birthday, and it was happy birthday to me. And I did a lot of day trading. I made a lot of money. But eventually, while I was working, I was at my big company. I was making all my money. I was making way over $100,000 a year, approximately. It's hard to say exactly how much, because when you add all the stuff together, give or take. Then I lost the money on the stock market. I lost about $4 or $5 grand on the stock market. Now, I had made probably about $40,000, $50,000 in the stock market, guys. I was doing really well on day trading. I was doing all sorts of stuff, and the market was going up, and it was easy to make money. You'd wake up, and you'd have a couple extra grand on your portfolio in one day, and you're ready to go. And then you'd figure out some other strategy, and you'd work it, and over a couple of years, I made some good money on the stock market. So I got my nest egg up to about 150. But then I made a bad investment in GM. They basically, I was like, GM's not going to go under. GM's not going to go under. And sure enough, they had GM go under, and they basically said your stock is worthless, which didn't make any sense to me, but yet then they were still open the next day. And I was like, how is that even possible? And they totally wiped out about $5 or $6 grand of my money, and that was it. I was like, okay, I don't understand how to make money anymore in the stock market. All the tricks I was using were no longer working. This wasn't the first time. I'd also lost some other money, and I was like, all right, the stock market's doing this right now, and I'm riding the waves down, and I'm not riding them up. I'm only riding them down for some weird reason. So I was like, that's it. I need to get into real estate. I've always wanted to get into real estate. It's time to make the move. I found this property I've already told you about in a previous video. 8-unit duplex. I bought that outright. $150,000. You can't, at that time, you couldn't get a loan. There's no loans to get. You couldn't get a loan on it. No one's going to give you a loan on that property. So I paid cash for it. I did all the math, and I said, after I did all the math, I said, there's no way I'm going to lose money on this. Now it's my first real estate investment property, which is kind of ridiculous when you think about it. Who starts off with an 8-plex as your first real estate property? That is insane. You're stupid. All right, it's stupid. But like I said, I done my math. I done my due diligence. I checked everything. I said, okay, it's all cash. I'm gonna own it outright. The only thing that can go wrong is I can have some more units empty. And already there was 2 units there that I could fill, I could fix, and then I would have a fully rented unit. And a fully rented unit, I was making like 30 to 40% return on my investment. Just to gobble money. I was like, how can you lose? I was like, I'm gonna make this work. I figured it out. And I figured the safety issues of working in the area, because it's downtown Dallas. The worst part of downtown Dallas is called Fair Park. That's where it was. That was my first real estate investment, and that basically was my flag in the center of Fair Park. And then from there, I found a lot of houses for $10,000. And I was like, I did the math. I was like, look, the rents are about $500 to $600. I can buy this house for $10,000. I was like, how can you buy a house for $10,000? I was like, I figure I'll probably put about $5,000 to $10,000 more in them and get them up and rented. So I bought 1 or 2 of those. Did the same thing. I hired locals or hired people off Craigslist, had them come in, fix the house, paint it, fix the floor, fix the plumbing, rent it out for $500-$600. Boom! I have a house for $10,000. And I was like, well, I'll just keep on buying. So, and when you're making like $10,000, off of your real estate investment, off of your other properties, it's really easy to buy a $10,000 house, isn't it? So you're basic, and I'm buying these houses outright, one after another. Man, I wish this market was now. If this was now, I would buy everything in sight. You can no longer buy those houses for $10,000. Now the cheapest thing you can buy in that neighborhood is $70,000 to $80,000. But the good news is all those houses that I bought for $10,000 to $15,000, they've gone up. They've all gone up to $80,000. So this has made me a millionaire for the second time. And hopefully not for the third. Hopefully I stay a millionaire from now on. So that's the beginning of my real estate. And then I bought more houses. I bought more real estate. I bought buildings on mortgages. I bought 2 or 3 different buildings on mortgages, 4plexes, rented those out. I bought another 8plex. I bought a 6plex. I eventually sold the other 8plex, and I eventually sold the other 6plex. And each one of those, when I sold them, I made a gob of money. Just an outrageous amount of money, which I reinvested in the business. And that is how I, over time, ended up with 30 different houses, and I've made an entire business. Now, in the meantime, I lost my other company. The market changed, guys. Due to market changes beyond my control, and it was the saddest thing in the world, my business went under. And I kind of saw it coming. I saw it coming like a year or 2 away, and I didn't know what to do. I couldn't save it. I had done everything to save it. The company owed me personally, not my partner, but me personally, owed me about $120,000, at least $120,000. And I wasn't taking interest on that. I wasn't getting interest payments. It just owed me $120, and that clock was and I kept on putting money into it, and I was like, okay. And then I stopped. I was like, look, I cannot ride this thing into the ground with my money in it. So that's so I stopped putting money into it, and I knew it was going to go under, and I watched it slide into the water and then submerge and then gone, which was a sad story because all my friends worked there. All my friends lost their jobs. My business partner lost his company as well. Obviously, we own the same company. We lost it together. He went off and did something else. He had another business he was working on, and I think he actually started another computer company, and hopefully that worked out, but I don't think it did. So I lost that company. It went under. It was a corporation, and it's gone, and I was sad. I wish it was open today. I actually wish that I sold it to somebody and that the market was still allowed. But unfortunately, we were switching from this is the point where Dell computers basically started going under. We're switching more to cell phones and laptops and away from desktops. We still use desktops today, but it's more for video graphics editing and gaming and less for everyday use. For everyday use, most people use laptops now. Most people use their cell phones. So it was destiny that company was going to go under, and the market changed. When the market changed, our sales just gradually started going off a cliff, and there's no stopping it. If I could have stopped it, I would have. If I'd known a way to make that happen, I would have. I loved that company. I loved working there. I loved the people that worked there, and it was very, very, very trying. In fact, I had nightmares about it. I still have nightmares. Every day when that company went under, almost for every day I had a nightmare about it for a year. Every single day I'd wake up in the middle of the night trying to figure out, while I was sleeping, my brain was trying to figure out how to save my company. It's like losing a child. Then the next year, it was every other night I had a nightmare about losing that company. Now I'm all the way to, it's usually about 3 or 4 months. And it's been years now. It's been about 4 or 5 years. Actually been longer than that. It's probably been about almost 8 or 9 years, right? It's been 8 or 9 years since I've lost that company, and I still have a nightmare every once in a while that I'm back at that company and I'm trying to figure out how to save it. Because it's when you build something and your friends work there and your life is there and you build it from scratch and it becomes part of who you are, and it's hard to walk away from that. It's hard to lose it, and your brain wants to fix it. And it's the other thing is failure. You don't want to fail, and guys, you're gonna fail. There's no way around it. Life is about learning and failing and getting up again and trying new things. And that's one thing I like about real estate, guys. And that's one thing I like about sales. If you get the right sales job, like roofing sales or a commodity like plumbing, you're a plumber or you're something solid, something that's always going to be necessary. That's why I always pick those things. These fly-by-night, quick things that come along like computers. Computer sales could change, which it did change for me, and I lost a lot of money. That company was worth $1 million, $2 million, at least $2 million, $2 to $3 million, and could have been evaluated at $4 million. And if we'd started it about 10 years earlier, we would have been worth like 50 million or 100 million because we just got in at the wrong time. We got in at the very end of the computer boom, white box computer boom. I could have been Michael Dell if I had been 10 years earlier. And I could have made a bigger business, and we could have shifted over to another business. But that business just wasn't going to shift. So everything did not work out. And I lost that. First time I lost $1 million. And I saw it coming. There's nothing I can do. I even tried to sell the company to somebody else, and he said he could make it work, but he couldn't get the money. So the company went under, and I kind of knew he couldn't. I kind of knew it wouldn't work, but he also went off and started another company doing the same stuff. So basically, he was going to do it anyway, and then that company went under too. So that's the way it works out, guys. Sometimes you do everything you can, and you still lose your business. So when you go out there and you open a business, it could fail. Lots of businesses fail. So it doesn't mean that you aren't a smart, creative individual. It just means that shit happens. All right? No other way to say it. So guys, this is my basic story of how I went from homeless basically at 17 years old, sleeping in my car, I moved from New Mexico to Texas, and this was when I was homeless. I got to Texas. A funny story about that I forgot to tell. On the way to Texas, my car broke, and it would barely shift. It was a shifter, and it was a Trans Am, and the clutch was out. So basically, I put the car in gear, and it would slowly start moving up to speed, and I limped it all the way to Texas. And then when I got to Texas, I had some friends here that were trying to help me out a little bit, but I was still homeless. I couldn't live with them. They were living with their parents. And I just suffered it out until luckily I got a little extra money and got me an apartment. So that's when I was homeless for about a week or two. And that's when my car was and then I had to fix my car. I got a job, walking to a job, and when I got back to my car, my beat up Trans Am, because I always had to have that Trans Am, put it up on stilts that I bought at Auto Place, and I brought down the transmission myself. I'd never fixed a transmission before, and I fixed the clutch myself. And actually, I didn't fix it all by myself. I had another guy walking along that took pity on me, and he got up underneath there and showed me a couple things, and we worked it out. And I fixed the clutch, got the Trans Am working again, and was able to just get to work without having to walk, and basically started from there. That is how little money I had at that time, starting off with just the bottom. And then I bottomed out again. I bottomed out again when I was in Dallas. When I was living in that apartment with no central heat, no air conditioner, wasn't smart enough to go buy a space heater, freezing my butt off in the winter, and sweating my butt off when it was working nonstop at crappy jobs, no high skills, just not making any money, just barely surviving. From that, I moved into customer service and a sales job, and I moved into a sales job at the mall. From that, I moved into a customer service job. From that, I moved into computer sales. From that, I started my own computer sales company. From that, I moved into real estate. After the first company went under, I started another company. It went under, and then I moved into real estate. And obviously, real estate, luckily, they're not making any more land. That's one of the reasons why I am a big supporter of real estate, guys. If you really want to become successful and you want to have solid success, remember, build your business on bricks, guys. Build it on a rock hard foundation that will last and won't go out of business. If you pick a high skill, pick something that you know people are going to need and you know it's going to be around for a while. Make sure you check out. Don't become a trucker, guys, because trucker's a bad example, but let's pick trucking. We know that trucks are going to be automated in the next 5 to 10 years. And when it happens, it's going to happen overnight. And instantly, everyone who's a trucker is going to be out of work. And these are people who are used to getting paid high amounts of money. $50 to $100,000 a year, and they're going to basically be wiped out. And all of those guys, and those skills do not translate well over to other industries. These is going to hurt a lot of people. Don't pick a field that technology can wipe out. And technology is going to wipe out a lot of fields. But one field it's not going to wipe out is obviously investing. There's always going to be investments. You're always going to be able to invest in stocks, bonds, dividends, mineral rights, real estate, and starting your own business. So guys, I really appreciate, this is my story. It's got a happy ending, at least I hope so far. But started off rocky, getting beat up in school, not being able to spell words, still can't spell words. Didn't graduate from high school, didn't graduate from college. I got a GED, and I worked my way all the way up the food chain. And if you're just starting out anywhere along that, I've been there. All right. Anywhere along that path where you've been. I've been there working a job, barely passing, barely able to afford rent, walking to work. I've done it all, guys, and worked all the way up to where I am now, an actual millionaire. Now, reason why I say poor millionaire is because I'm basically just barely a millionaire. I'm hanging on by my fingernails, guys. Now, but being a millionaire, guys, isn't, if you're not already a millionaire, you don't realize this. A lot of millionaires, they already know this. Being a millionaire doesn't mean you're rich, guys. It just doesn't. That's the reason why I say poor millionaire. Just because you're a millionaire doesn't mean that you're not living next to. My entire neighborhood is filled with people who are not millionaires, guys. Maybe one or two of them are millionaires, but that's only because their stock portfolio is $1 million. They're not rich, guys. They're not living in mega. They don't have mega yachts. They don't have helicopters. They don't have Lamborghinis. Lots of millionaires don't have all the toys that you see on TV. These are extremely rich people, or they're millionaires who are buying stuff they cannot afford. When you see me at the lake on that big boat, it's something I could barely afford. My next step is to become a rich millionaire. And the way I'm going to do that, this is my future story, is I'm going to become a YouTube star and make all the money that way. No, that's not the way, guys. Guys, the reason why it's not the way to become a YouTube star and make all the money is because YouTube could disappear tomorrow. So if you're planning on making money on YouTube or in any business, YouTube's basically a business, you need to take that money that you make, and you know what I'm going to say next? Invest it in real estate. So guys, I appreciate you listening to my story. I hope it was entertaining. I hope you got something out of it. I appreciate you listening to this 2-hour-long story. It's basically a movie of my life. I could have made it more entertaining. I could have told you worse stories. I have lots. Guys, I have much worse stories that are much more horrible. I can't share with you because they're too personal for me and they make me cry. But I appreciate you listening to all the other bad stories in my life and all the challenges I've had and all the successes I've had. And I appreciate you listening to my story, and I appreciate you watching this video to the end. Of course, you need to smash the like button. You need to subscribe. And I look forward to seeing you in the next video. And thanks for tuning in. And thanks for the support, guys. I really appreciate it. See you in the next one.